Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
And I'm number one fan, Tim.
I have mentioned this before, I believe, but I'm not going to go back and listen to 200 and some episodes to check my math here. Do you recall us talking about the mantra of happy wife, happy life?
Maybe we have.
I don't think we've done an entire episode on it. I think I've made passing comments and taken stabs at feminists who flaunt that shit, or my mother-in-law, who wrote it on a fucking wooden cooking spoon she gifted us.
Okay.
Well, she didn't write exactly that, but it was basically...
Treat my daughter right or I'm kicking your ass?
No, it was basically, remember these words. Okay, honey, I love you. Or, yes, dear, I love you. Something like that. And I was just like, fuck you.
No woman deserves 100% of yes, dear.
I wish I had a panel of women to get into a screaming match over this with. Because, and I'm going to almost encroach upon the intellectual property of Louder with Crowder. You ever watch those videos?
I got one on a saved list about guns, but I never watched it yet.
Okay. He always does, something is this. Change my mind.
I've seen some of those. I thought you were talking about like in-studio stuff. No, but yeah, I've watched, yeah, okay.
I believe that the mantra of happy wife, happy life is sexist against men. And you would be hard-pressed, no matter who the fuck you are, to make me think otherwise.
Here we go again.
What if your wife never seems like she's actually happy?
Some bitches just don't know how to cool off. There are some people that are never pleased.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the number of them that I know that are female outnumber the males.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, too.
So let me build my case here for why this is sexist. Everything these days is like gender equality, and marriage is a partnership. So everyone makes compromises for the other person's comfort, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the whole love, honor, and obey is a two-way street, unless you live in Utah. So if it's happy wife, happy life, right out of the gate, you are trivializing the feelings and concerns and needs of the male in the relationship.
Could one argue that means you're supposed to find a woman that likes the same things you like? Like, don't marry your opposite?
Well, yeah, if you're a fucking crazy optimist looking for positivity in things, yeah, maybe. And somebody could sit there and be like, do you think it means that because Jesus had 12 male apostles, he was gay and into gangbangs?
Yep.
Could be.
Maybe. You ever heard the song Craig Christ by Stephen Litch?
Probably.
You gotta listen to it if you haven't.
Let's say that to keep your wife happy, you work 2 jobs to have enough money to pay for a house that's big enough for all of her shit, or in a neighborhood that she wants to live in. You're doing things to please her. You're sacrificing of yourself to make extra money for her comfort. Now, you don't like having 2 jobs. You don't get to do enough fun shit or unwind. And frankly, she's just an insufferable bitch who, even though she gets the house in the neighborhood she wants, still has some minor complaints, like, you know, the angle of the sun in the morning towards the breakfast nook, or that, geez, we really got to change these fucking window treatments. And you just think, man, I would love to say, one of these days, Alice.
Pow.
Right in the kisser. I can't believe that in this day and age, that has not been eliminated.
My parents say it sometimes, you know, like in regards to my wife and everything, and I think they say it just to be funny.
As some people have an air of comedy to it, but if you really boil it down, it's intrinsically anti-male. It means that your sole purpose is to keep her happy. Like, you're just lucky to have her, you fucking dope.
Yeah.
So you better do everything in your power to bend to her every whim, or else she might leave you. Now, common sense would dictate that 51% of the population is female, and bye, bitch, you might take half my shit, and I might be broke, but I don't have to deal with your cunt ass anymore and trying to please you when you are never satisfied. So I'm going to find somebody else. Or maybe you don't even get a divorce and you just start fucking one of her friends. Or her sister. Who knows?
You win.
Like, if she goes, we need an SUV because we've got these kids. But you can't afford an SUV. So she talks you into getting a loan and getting the car. And you know you're going to have to cut all these financial corners and sacrifice things that you really like or that benefit the whole family just so she can have the vehicle to carry more groceries. It's more or less like a soccer mom status symbol. You're doing it for her. She only wants it for her. She'll say it's, well, we got to transport the kids. Yeah, maybe. But who's to say you can't do that shit in a sizable sedan? Why does it have to be an SUV? Well, we go on trips, so we need to bring all our stuff. Pack light.
Hadouken!
You can figure your way out of this paper bag somehow.
Yeah, shit,
it's not hard. But I
if you
refuse
don't have more
to
than
believe.
2 kids, it's completely possible.
Oh, yeah. I refuse to believe that I need to do everything in my power to make sure that my wife is always happy or the marriage is not going to survive. That's not a relationship that's worth being in.
No, every relation, it needs to be 50-50. You know, both partners need to not only watch out for themselves, but yeah, watch out for the other.
Well,
you know, pay equal attention to each other and yourselves.
Yeah, well, okay, I'm going to relate it to your life. We talked about this in episode 200. Mm-hmm. During the course of your previous marriage, your wife talked you into having an open marriage.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And you did it to make her happy.
I felt it was my comeuppance for all the cheating I did her in high school. Yeah. But
I guess.
To keep her happy.
To keep her happy, you allowed her to date around, and then she totally wanted it. You were like...
I didn't want to do it.
And she was like taking advantage of the opportunity to date around, and God knows what else she was doing.
Still lied to me about everything that was going on, yeah.
Yeah, right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate. Her very first encounter, lied about it. And what hurt is I already knew she was lying.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not even worth being in the first place. So I guess that was just a good way to end the marriage because it allowed her to find somebody that could provide for her better than I could. You know, like you said, well, we can't afford this SUV. Well, her and I had the same dreams of having a house with land and having horses and all that, but I couldn't afford to do that. I didn't make enough money, and I love the job that I have, but it doesn't afford me to do that. So she went and found somebody that could afford that.
So I've only explored the monetary options so far.
That's what it's all about.
Well, yeah, maybe. But what if a woman says, I want to have a baby, and I want to do it now. But you're not ready, and you know you can't afford it. There's a lot of guys that will give a woman a baby so she's happy. And it works out for them in the emotional sense, but the financial burden is near crippling.
My honest opinion about having kids is you're never sure you're ready. No one's ever really ready.
Yeah.
Were you?
Oh, well, no, because I didn't plan it. It just kind of was thrust upon me.
I didn't plan my first. I planned my second. And even then, I was just like, I don't know if we can really do this, you know? I mean, is this one just got out of diapers, you know, and everything? Do I really want to go back to that? And I was just like, screw it, you know? I don't want to wait even longer.
How long after you and your first marriage, you guys got wedded together there, did Pubert pop out?
We were married September 1st?
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Yeah, September 1st, I think. It was Labor Day weekend. And she told me she was pregnant in November.
And how far along was she when she told you?
She realized she just, well, wait, I didn't have my period, so she went and got a pregnancy test. And
so you were married?
We were already married, yeah.
Whereas the Beast and I were just fucking around.
We weren't even married a year when Pubert was born.
Yeah. Well, you see, I and her, we had only been banging for a few weeks when I started getting really, really brave and deciding, well, wait, right before her period or right after it, I can come inside her and it's fine. And she got her period and that worked for like 2 months.
Yeah, convince yourself that.
Yeah, and then that's why I don't go to the casino. I am clearly a gambling addict. But as it relates back to the point, I worked with a chick who had been with a dude for years. He was older, she was younger. He was in his mid-30s, she was in her late 20s. And he basically said, if we don't have a kid and get married, I'm done. Which is a ballsy fucking move that you don't see many guys do.
It's usually kind of the other way around, yeah.
Right. And so they're married and they have a son.
Gotcha, bitch.
So the principle applied the opposite way, but still, someone's making a substantial sacrifice for the comfort of the other.
I think, yeah.
It goes back to that, I don't think that's a relationship worth being in, but that's a question that everybody must ask themselves. Now, that's a lot different because they had established history, and she really loved him, so she was willing to have a child earlier than she wanted to. It was an eventual goal, but, I mean, if you don't want kids at all, and your wife's like, well, if we don't have a baby, then we're going to get divorced, I'd be like, later, bitch.
Well, sometimes one could argue that you need to wake up your partner. It's like, okay, yeah, they've been dating for a while, he's like, okay, this is definitely the girl for me. I'm in my mid-30s. If I have a kid now, it's not going to be gone until I start getting into my 50s.
Right.
So he was just probably looking at, I don't want to have kids hanging around my house, teenagers, when I'm 55, 60 years old. I want to have them young so they can get out on their own and I can enjoy my elder years.
That's why you don't teach them how to swim when they're younger and you take them to a lot of water parks in their teens. That way, the problem kind of solves itself because Billy didn't know how to hold his breath long enough on the underground water slide and he fucking drowned.
Anyway, so sometimes he just, listen, this is what I want. Okay, please, let's do this. I can understand that. I mean,
But it's the same thing with a house, with a car, with, honey, I want to go back to school, and we don't have any money. So
no, these are completely different things. These are making life choices that, him starting a life, starting a family, starting a life together. They were dating already.
Yeah.
But they weren't married. And so he was just saying, I really want to do this. I think this is going to work for both of us. It's different when you're already together. And we need to buy a new car.
He was basically like, I want to be a dad. And if it's not you, I'll find somebody else.
Was that his specific words?
I'm paraphrasing, but that was the fucking mentality. Is that I'm not going to stick around with someone who doesn't want to have kids. I want to have kids. I'm getting old. He didn't want to be an old dad, like you said.
I didn't want to be an old dad, but I didn't want to be this young of a dad.
But it's the same thing. House, car. Your spouse wants to go back to college to get a different job. And that means that they're going to be going to school and they're not going to be working and paying the bills as much. So you got to buckle down and maybe you got to get an extra job so that she can grind for 2, 3, 4 years to get that degree. And then eventually she gets a job with more money where she's happy and you're working less.
But you still got to fucking pay those loans.
But you've got to fucking suffer through all that shit and that debt's attached to you.
Mm-hmm.
You
know, to the choir.
My wife did not have money for a new vehicle when her old one crapped out. She had no money for a down payment. She needed a vehicle. So I fronted $5,000 on the down payment, and I pay the insurance every 6 months, and she pays me back monthly in installments. So she's getting me back there, but I don't know where that $5,000's coming from. And I hate to sound like a prick who doesn't understand that this is a partnership, and sometimes you make sacrifices, but at some point, I'm going to want my
Some
grand
people
back.
run their marriages like that. And there's really nothing wrong with it.
We
as
don't
long as you both agree to it.
We don't have a joint account where all our money goes in. We have our own money, and then we have one account that's joint that only contains money that we were gifted for our wedding. That's the only money that's been put in there. Or at tax time, we each agree to put like $500 in there to keep it kind of going. It's for home repairs, God knows what. Maybe someday we'll take a honeymoon. Maybe someday we'll use the money to pay divorce lawyers. I don't know.
Make sure you get that $5,000 back if you get divorced.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm going to get a child support deferment.
But, and like, I'm more of a traditionalist. Like, all our money goes into one account. And, even though I'm technically forced to manage it, she has complete access to it. She has a say in how things get done if she wants. So, and that's just how I was raised. That's what my parents did and everything. And so, and to me, that makes it feel more like a partnership, even though I do bring home substantially more money than her. I mean, in the hundreds of dollars per paycheck.
Yeah.
It's our money. She's free to do with what she wants with whatever is in there, as long as our bills are getting paid.
But then you run into the problem of a lot of marriages where there's a disproportionate amount of fun money being spent by one spouse who doesn't earn as much, and that builds resentment.
There have been times where her and I were, she was spending more than I was able to. I went and worked a bunch of overtime to try to have some fun money, and she wouldn't spend it. But then there's been times where, I spent a lot of money. So if I look back at it and honestly look at it, it's almost even. I mean, if you look at what I buy versus what she buys, I buy substantially more expensive things, but I don't do it as often. Whereas she's always buying these little small things.
Mm-hmm. And it adds up.
That adds up, yeah.
I'm not a traditionalist in that sense. If this is a partnership, if this is 50-50, if everything is equal, my money's my money, your money's your money, we split the bills in half, and then whatever's left is what we have to enjoy. And if I have a retirement and you don't have shit someday, that sucks. Because I'm not going to fucking pay for your meds. I'm going to need to pay the exorbitant premiums for my Medicare Part B.
Maybe as I'm sitting here thinking about it, I'm listening to you, but I'm also in the back of my head going, my wife isn't that good with money. When we first moved in together, I was paying the mortgage and everything because that's all I could afford. And she was paying all the utilities. And when she needed her, quote, space and decided to move in with her mom and stepdad for a while to see how she wanted to do things, she gave me all the utilities back, and each one of them was a month behind.
The fuck?
Yep. I looked at just like double payments. She's like, well, I didn't miss the payment. I said, yes, you did. If it's doubled, you missed it.
Right.
So, and I had to work my ass off at a new job where I told you my mortgage was like $1,600 back then.
Jesus.
And I took on that roommate who ended up being a fucking success story. Please note the sarcasm. But I got everything caught back up. And then when she did decide, we decided to stay together, and she moved back in a year later, 7 months later, whatever. I gave her all the stuff back. And one day I looked at one of the bills, and again, some of them were a month behind.
What the fuck?
So I was like, well, why don't we put everything in one account and I'll manage the money? And I did that so that she wouldn't screw us and spend the money before we had a chance to pay bills.
How do you spend that much money and not know?
She doesn't add it up as she's out.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Like, I asked her one day, what about this amount? Well, I only spent $60 there. What about over there? Well, I only spent $89 over there. What about over there? Well, I put fuel in at $65. So you spent this much money and didn't even realize that that's what you were spending? And I had to tell her, it's like between paychecks, we have X amount of dollars, and you just spent half of it.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I pay the mortgage. I mean, it's my house. I had the house before we got married for years. And when I was with
The Beast?
I made the down payment on the house. The mortgage was only in my name. She didn't own shit. That's why it was such an easy split. Also, a reason why I never married her is because she didn't have a pot to piss in. And I'm not fucking stupid. I waited to find somebody worth marrying to marry. But now we've got kids. So if we did split, it would be complicated because I'd have another custody situation. But at the same time, I could say, well, she never stayed at home to raise the kids. She kept working. Except for 1 month or two after each of the kids were born. And, I paid the mortgage, I paid the utilities, I made the down payment on her car. She would throw me the money to pay back for the insurance, and then come tax time, she'd let me keep, a disproportionate amount to make up for all the not contributing to the mortgage she does. But still then, I'm the financial cross-bearer around here. It's not 50-50. I have an industry that I work in where there's always going to be something to do. There's never a lacking of need for social workers. However, what she does is a service industry that's feast or famine, and it's completely dependent upon people having fun money to go get massages and do yoga.
So, like in an economy like we have now, perfect.
Right.
An economy like we had 3 years ago, not so good.
Well, it's not so good now.
Really?
Well, there's so many fucking massage parlors.
Well, that's true. There's competition, yeah.
There's licensed and unlicensed. You could go get a job at a Massage Envy tomorrow. I don't care if they want to send me a cease and desist, suck my dick. I know firsthand they'll hire fucking anybody and they'll train them. Not the same thing as getting a degree in massage therapy or to be a masseuse. It's not the same thing. It's on-the-job training. You get to be a locksmith's apprentice. You learn on the job. But massaging people for like $30, $40 an hour is not something where I'm trying to have possible medical relief or medical benefits from pain relief. I don't want some dickhole off the street some Johnny Joe Blow asshole who just learned how to give rub-downs 3 weeks ago, trying to help me work out the kinks when I can't turn my fucking neck to one side. I want someone that actually went to school for this shit, had to take tests for this, had to do X amount of hours of experience. That's what I want. That's what she does.
Okay. Well.
But if she wanted to go back to school, I would be like, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, and that's when my wife decided she wanted to go back to school. I told her, Freya, we can't afford that.
Yeah.
But I want to do it. I was like, well, then you need to pay for it.
Well, I mean, marriage is essentially an antiquated concept in today's society because people aren't just staying together for the kids anymore. There's custody attorneys. You can figure all that shit out. You don't need to be stuck in a dead marriage.
I don't feel our marriage is dead, though.
No, I know, but the point is that it's just like you don't need to be stuck in a marriage where one partner is making all the sacrifice, i.e. the man, to make the wife happy. And it goes both ways. But there's no fucking mantra out there of happy husband, happy life.
What's yours is mine, and what's mine is mine. Oh, yeah? Well, I'm going to set your shit on fire.
It would be less funny if it wasn't really something that happened before where you were allegedly almost murdered in your sleep.
Number 1 Phantom was previously married to a woman that totally tried to burn down their house with him and their 2 sons inside. Seriously. That shit happened.
So there's no convincing me at any point that that mantra is anything that is relevant or necessary in 2020 any more than it was the last 5 or 6 fucking years, or really any point in this millennium so far. It's something that should have gone away in like the 60s or 70s. When they desegregated America, they could have also said, yeah, we're going to not do happy wife, happy life anymore. Wouldn't have had the same,
well, it's just
hooray societal impact.
That was part of it back then. It's not really today, but back then it's like the woman stayed home, raised the kids, the man went out and earned all the money.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
You know?
It's time to let that one go.
I wish my wife made more money than me, then I wouldn't have to work so hard.
Yeah, then you might feel emasculated. She might rub it in your face.
For a period of time, she made more money than me, and I did not care one iota. I was like, I don't have to work as hard.
Yeah, if it was only that easy. But it's a sexist mantra and mindset, and not anything that I feel the need to adhere to.
Nope. I want her happy, but I'm not going to sacrifice everything for it.
And I have, on many occasions, told my wife, you need to figure out how to keep yourself happy. It should not be entirely dependent upon me and my efforts all the time, because I'm not going to give 100% all the fucking time.
No, that shit's work.
Even Tom Brady doesn't give 100% all the time. Because his coach has figured out many awesome ways to cheat and win Super Bowls.
Oh, whatever.
Ironic. Fuck you, Tom Brady. I'm kidding. I like Tom Brady, but fuck you, Bill Belichick, and fuck you, New England Patriots.
Inflategate.
It's Deflategate.
Whatever.
I don't know why you'd overinflate a football unless you've got fucking Incredible Hulk-size hands.
Oof, whatever. You know what? That's why I don't pay that much attention to sports stuff. Whatever.
Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It. That is at What Do We Call It. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It Podcast Show. For the What Do We Call It Podcast, I'm Jmann.
And I'm number 1 fan Tim.
And that's the end.